My name's Eli Wynn. I'm a rising freshman, and I'm majoring in theater with a concentration in production and design. And my goal, or my plan right now, is to minor in ASL because after college, I would like to work in deaf theater, which is kind of been sequestered off from the rest of theater just because it's not accessible in ways that people realize. So I want to work heavily with the deaf community, which is particularly pertinent to me because my brother was deaf, or he was born deaf, and so he I learned sign as a kid, but then I kind of lost it. So I think it's a really important cause, and that's where I want to put my effort after college. Peace to me is recognizing, or the ability within a group to recognize what is an acceptable difference and what a unacceptable difference is, and how to negotiate what's what. Um, what I mean by that is you can't build a group's identity on and then have people within the group have beliefs that undercut that identity, that belief that forms the identity. Like you can't have racial equality while also believing that black people are inferior. Like that, the, you know, it contradicts each other pretty heavily. But if it's a difference of opinion, like I like Marvel movies and other people in my group don't, that's not going to undercut the work of our group. That's so I think peace is being able to negotiate where that line is, and being able to have active discourse about what is acceptable and not acceptable, um, in terms of kind of uh, group conversation, I guess, or like group beliefs. Um, I think the best way that I can promote that is by staying informed myself and staying as informed as possible in global politics as well as local ones, as well as just, issue like things that are pertinent to everyday life. But then also being able to share that information with others, because I think that you can't have the negotiations, um, of where the line is that peace requires without knowing definitely where you stand on those issues and understanding them inside and out, and being able to make those informed decisions that kind of lead you to develop an opinion or a thesis on that issue. My conflict map is kind of abstract. I had a very specific way I wanted to visualize the issue. I was in marching band for. Oh, I forgot the interesting fact. I play three instruments, and I'm an interdisciplinary artist. Not it, as in I do music things and I do art things, but I also do a lot of different kinds of art things. I paint, I draw, I do technical diagrams, I build, hence theater production. Um, so I was in marching band. I was the front ensemble captain, and this year, there was a new band director who was hired for the program because the previous one left. But this was after the previous band director was really widely regarded as a very important figure, um, in the school and in the band. So it was hard to see him go, and the new band director coming in was everybody kind of knew it was going to be met with a lot of tension. That tension persisted throughout the whole season, for a lot of reasons. So I've divided this into problems and solutions, and there's a lot of feedback between the two, and stability versus instability. I wrote leadership taught by old band director. I mean that everybody who was there when the old band director was there was very influenced by his ideas and his way of doing things. So the stability of what we had already been doing versus the instability of what the new band director was bringing in. I don't mean instability necessarily in a bad way. I think that instability is indicative of change and things can change for good, but it does put the whole group in a more precarious position, and create and being able to land gracefully from that precarious position is how conflicts are resolved, I believe. Um, so, one of the issues that was the most pertinent to me was that leadership, like the student leadership, was very adamant that we kind of hold on to traditions and the way things that were going before, because the addition of the new band director was going to kind of shake things up, and so the way that we believed we would be able to keep things stable for the rest of the band was to try and keep things as similar to previous years as possible. So we had regular meetings with the band director like every week about what we thought of the practices that week, and where we kind of wanted to go from there. The issue being that the band director didn't really believe we knew what we were talking about, because we were just kids. So he wasn't really inclined to listen to us, which the only solution for that was kind of to keep having those meetings. So it became just this recursive loop of nobody really being heard on either side. The band director was also completely new to teaching. So he didn't have this like an established toolkit of what to do in each situation. And there's a lot of things for a band director to manage, extracurricularly and also in the classroom, because he was teaching music theory as well as band classes, as well as the extracurriculars. Like, it's a little bit more than your math teacher who only teaches pre-calc or whatever. So there was a lot to juggle on his end. And because he was new, he frequently asked the staff, like the assistant band director and stuff, for advice. The issue being that the assistant or the staff didn't really trust him, and they resented that he got the job over somebody else, and so they weren't willing to kind of open up the gates on their side. So, because as a result, and I don't mean solution as in this was a good thing, I mean solution as in this is what they did to remedy that problem. Staff intentionally excluded him from meetings, which is immature for one, and two, it resulted in the band director not really gaining anything from the experience of the other teachers. So, this, again, created this recursive loop of he's asking, they're not telling, they're excluding him, he doesn't know that, and so they're asking, which meant that leadership kind of had to fill the gap. And so the student leadership ended up taking on a lot of the responsibilities of the adult staff, which was still a problem because the new band director didn't believe we knew what we were talking about. And so, because the new band director wasn't able to find any support within the program, he went to other schools and to discuss, talked with other band directors, which just created more distrust on part of the staff and honestly some of the leadership. So the season just kind of it was very hard to break out of these cycles because it required somebody being vulnerable with the other party, and nobody was really able to do that or was willing to do that. So all of these problems just kept feeding themselves until the season was over, and at that point it was kind of too late. I'm really looking forward to the rest of this class. I'm really looking forward to seeing a diverse group of opinions and people and reading diversely. And frankly, I wish that this was the full course, but, things being what they are, I think this is a particularly pertinent time to take this class, and regardless, I'm really glad that I'm taking it now.